Good afternoon, brothers, sisters, cousins. What's happening? This is Chef Life Radio, dedicated to empowering all culinarians who want both a career and a life. And we do that through actionable emotional intelligence. My name is Adam Lamb, and my mission is to make sure that you get everything you need to become the best version of yourself, get out of the grind mindset, and find your flow. And before we bring on our guest, I just wanted to kind of flip over to this particular meme. Yeah, because this is kind of what we work against. Hold on, I just got to do this. Right, you were merely adopted the kitchen. I was born into it, molded by it. Yeah, it's kind of funny. And then it's not, because at the core of every joke, funny meme is the truth. So the point that I am trying to make, the perspective that I'm trying to share, is that if you think your life is a grind, then it will be. That going to war is not an easy thing, and there's nobody that goes in that comes out the same way. So there is a way to find your flow, happiness, and joy in this career, and have a life as well as a career. And I get that, misery loves company, and we're all looking for an emotional buyback. So when shit's heavy and it's not going necessarily our way, we're going to carp about it and try to get others on our side. But no progress is ever made that way. So I want you to welcome my guest, Joshua Young. Chef Young is, him and his sister have a hospitality consulting company called Fruits of Labor Hospitality in the Pacific Northwest. And he spent the last 5 years teaching younglings in the hospitality trade about, the ins and outs of the restaurant business and how to navigate that successfully. And so I want to say, welcome, Chef. How are you?
Hey, Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. And so the impetus of this particular interview was a blog post that you published. I think it was just this week, right? Earlier in the week.
Monday morning or Tuesday morning, something like that. Yeah, Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, and the title kind of caught my eye, which is my dirty little secret. And when I read it, it really hit me in such a way that I saw myself in a lot of your words. And from what I understand, this has really caught some traction. So I'm curious to know why you think your blog post is resonating with so many chefs right now.
Well, first, Adam, let me go on record as saying I when I sent the blog post to my sister, who edits it and panaches it for me, I said, change the flipping title. I hate that thing. So, it caught your eye, and, I did it because honestly, it's like sex sells, and I wrote it I didn't write it for nobody to read it.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that, somebody wrote it, or when they saw it was like, oh, saucy, spicy, whatever, and clicked. So, the grind of the last 6 years of my life, 7 years of my life, where things just got, in a succession of being just too much. Like, and the stuff that I was doing to make myself feel good was not working anymore. Whether it was, for me, it was, it was, chasing women, chasing skirt, like I like to say, like I said in my blog. I don't like to say it, said in my blog. And, talking about it is uncomfortable. Writing about it was flipping easy, Adam. The thing, why I wrote it, because I needed to get it off my chest, because I've been writing it for about 4 months now.
Right.
This particular post, getting my thoughts together, the pandemic, blessing and a curse, and as you probably are the same, and most chefs are the same, most people that most people that are your friends are chefs.
Right.
You share common interests, you share common bond, you share common horror stories or war stories. War is a fine metaphor, but my dad was it was in World War II. So it's like, well, he
That's
never
not
said
appropriate.
one fucking word about war.
Yeah.
But it is, I like to think of it like, what gets me hooked and what started with me is like, being a chef is like a fucking being a rock and roll star, I remember walking down the ramp of a restaurant in Chicago, and there must have been 120 people in that restaurant, and it was pumping. The music was pumping. The kitchen was a stage. I was the chef, and I'm walking down the full fucking restaurant, and I'm like, I'm the motherfucking king of all I survey. People are here for me, and that, God, fuck, that was awesome. And I still think about that. I say that if I wasn't a chef, I'd be a rock and roll star, even though I can't play an instrument to save my life.
Yeah. Now, in the article, you go a lot of different places. I mean, it is a sobering read. The fact that you looked at your career and your ways of being with an unjaundiced eye, and you just wrote from the heart. And like I said in the event description, this is going to be a transparent, vulnerable, and a fucking uncomfortable conversation, because it's never easy to look at ourselves. But if we're trying to move forward, then it's really important that we do that kind of inventory. So why did you write the article?
To help people to know that they're not alone. I remember if you want to call it my bottom or my whatever, I was on the train and I was living in Chicago, and I was on the train for 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, going to work at a job that promised me quality of life. It promised me weekends off. It promised me no dinner shifts. And in a sense, they delivered all of those things. They didn't tell me each day was going to be 14 hours. They didn't tell me that every cook of mine, who I had no control over hiring, was making less than the standard wage in the city of Chicago for a cook. Right. They didn't tell me that, all these other, weekly inventories and all this other crap that I had to do. But being a chef, I couldn't fucking quit. Right. And I remember being on the train, and it was wintertime, and I was sweating my ass off, and I was hyperventilating, and I kept having these thoughts of wanting to hurt myself because I couldn't quit. And I thought that if I just cut, and chef, you've cut yourself a million times, right?
Yeah.
You know where you can cut yourself to get away with it. You know where you can cut yourself and you're like, okay, no tendons will be damaged. This will give me a couple of weeks off to figure out what I want to do next.
Right.
And I got a cool scar. I didn't think that this was weird. I thought that this was like, okay, this is my only way out. I remember she wasn't my wife at the time, but it was the woman that I was dating. And I kind of mentioned this to her when I was going through it. And I told her about cutting myself on the fat of my hand. And she says to me, she's like, if you get that feeling, you call me. I don't care what fucking time it is. I don't care where you're at. I don't care where you're doing. Just fucking call me. And I'm at work with a knife in my hand, gripping it, and I pick up my phone and I call Anna. I call her. And she says, drop the knife and come home, and we'll take care of this. And we'll deal with this how we ever have to deal with this. We will get you through this. Not once in that whole thought process did I think I'm going to kill myself. Not once in my life did I think my life is so miserable that I don't want to be here anymore. It was, I don't want to be at this job. I can't quit. I am a chef. Chefs don't quit. Chefs that quit are losers.
Right.
When I was a young chef, and Jesus, I was full of myself, and I would see these chefs, I would see these food reps that would come into my kitchen. And their getting to know me spiel was, well, I used to be a chef.
Right.
And I, in my mind, would say, and you're nodding your head because you know what I'm about to say. Well, you quit.
Right.
You're a quitter.
Yep.
So you're not a chef, really. But that's fucked up.
Oh yeah.
And that was me not being a good human being and already thinking negatively of a person because they didn't put up with what I put up with.
Right. But I want to know why you decided to put out this piece now.
Now,
Now. I mean, you told me earlier that your sister kind of told you that, you need to put this down.
There was 2 specific instances. I was talking with a former boss of mine on my website about, the industry post-COVID. He's an educator. He is probably the best educator I know. And we just shot this shit for about an hour talking about mental health and about being a chef. And I had that blog post in my artillery,
right.
And I was kind of out of gas of blogging for the minute. So I picked that up and it just came. And I put it down, and my sister, who edits it, but she can see all my posts, picked it up and says, she's like, you need to post this. You need to get this out there. People need to know that they're not alone. People need to know that that what they're feeling is normal. What they're feeling is okay. What they're feeling is, so why now? Why not now? Fuck.
Right.
I mean, somebody's got to fucking start the conversation.
So
I feel when I posted my blog, and I'm not going to bring my wife into it, but she doesn't know that much about my past. She doesn't know hardly anything about my past because all this that I wrote about happened really before I knew her.
Right.
So she kind of got, she was like, why did you do that? I said, I want to do it to help people. I mean, I'm doing this to we got to talk about this. There's only one male friend of mine that I talk about anything of substantial. That's not a word, of any substantious
substance,
whatever about. Yeah. Substance. Yeah.
Real shit, not just topical crap like that. And, I think the culture in the hospitality industry is such that, you don't show that because that's weakness, that's less than. And, as I was coming up, which is funny because you and I came up in Chicago at the same time. So I was trying to tell you this earlier, but I never got to it. All the chefs that I knew above me were always scared that someone else was going to take their job.
Fucking A.
So showing any type of weakness, showing any type of I don't know, put you right square in the crosshairs. And it,
and I was going to be that motherfucker to take your job.
Right. Exactly.
I was better. I was smarter. I was faster. I was whatever.
So wait a second. So the point that you're trying to make is, somebody's got to start the conversation, or else everybody's going to believe this type of shit, which is people will never understand what it's like to close a restaurant, join a house party late, drink a bottle of tequila, skip sleep, go in drunk to open, and getting mad at whoever closed. Yeah, none of us ever did that shit, right?
Check. All the time.
Yeah, but that works until it doesn't work anymore.
Right. Right, exactly. Till when does this stop? When do I get off? And I've had people reach out to me. I've had former sous chefs who are in that piece that don't necessarily know it, but they know it. They're in that piece. Reach out to me. I've had strangers reach out to me. And it's been really, really great. There's some apprehension about, when with the Me Too movement and the way I was raised by my mother, who was a hardcore flipping lesbian feminist, battling with that and, what she tried to instill in me in terms of how I treat women, knowing that I've done nothing wrong, but knowing that I don't know if I did anything wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Knowing that my wife got mad at me when she read the blog, and I told her, I said, I'm ashamed of this. I'm absolutely ashamed I'm, you know, maybe, yeah, no, I'm ashamed of some of the things that I did.
No, you're not alone in that, man. As a matter of fact, when I said seeing myself in your words, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to
Yeah,
read a few of those.
please.
So this is an excerpt from the blog post that says, "We bounced around from bed to bed, job to job, and it was all normalized. But the actual work, the job, that was the easy part. For me, a job interview had always gone like this. I smile, show my skills, and know that I am qualified for whatever position that I'm applying for. My confidence/arrogance is shown in how I move about the kitchen. You know, how a person moves about the space, that's, you know, with a certain amount of power is quite the aphrodisiac.
Right.
I own that shit. No one can touch my skills. I'm the best cook in the kitchen at any given time, even when I'm not. But I need and want to believe that to succeed. It doesn't matter if it's true as long as I exude it while I'm in my element. By force of will, I propelled myself through each hiring process with the confidence of a man who knows no better, and it always worked. Tragically, it's the human side of life that always eluded me. I was and still am never sure that I'm qualified or even fit for society." Yeah, I think a few of us could probably relate to that. And you make mention in your piece about chase and skirt, and this was the thing that I kind of keyed on. And we were speaking before we got on about, you know, yeah, everybody thinks it's kind of a joke, you know, when the cook, you know, hooks up with the hostess, like, yeah, that's really good. But I'm like you, man. I can't recall every single time I had a drunken hookup with somebody that I worked with. And so I am not quite clear if, you know, if ever I broached the line, if ever I was, I mean, it's not necessarily my nature. So I know I wouldn't necessarily push anybody into doing anything that they didn't want to. But when you're drunk, how can you give consent? Right.
Right.
And
like there is no consent when you're both not in your right mind.
Right. And I think
but there's no word spoken.
Right. And I love it in piece. You're like, yeah, the next day, you know, everybody's looking the opposite way and no one will even acknowledge the fact that it happened. Right. And so I understand and took advantage of the fact that, you know, when you're in close proximity with people in a high stress environment and you're spending more time with them than you are your actual family, it's easy to want to try to move closer to that and away from things that are starting to get weird at home. I mean, how many of us used work as a way to escape our problems at home, right? Problem with a wife, head to work. At least you can zone that shit out. So there were some very, very smart women that I had as partners who said to me, you know, Adam, this is all that's going to happen because you're a fucking mess, and I don't want to have anything to do with you after this. And yet there were some women who I probably wasn't as clear with than I should have been, that I should have treated with more respect, and that if there was intimacy between us, that I should have taken that as a gift instead of my due as the chef, as the apex predator in the fucking tank. So yeah,
there's something that should be, you know, the second I got that, I ghosted them. Like I said in my blog, you know, I was ghosting before you know, it was
a
vernacular of society. You know, because what I was looking for was just, you know, a different type of validation, a different type of saying you're worthy of this. You know, and you know, Einstein said, you know, the definition of insanity is doing something over and over again and expecting different results. And the results, like the song remains the same, brother. You know, it was the same shit, the same emptiness, the same. But man, the chase was, you know, the chase was like the rush of a ticket.
Exciting, for sure.
The chase was like, you know, the searing of the duck breast while you're doing 50 other things. And, you know, I mean, I see that when I talk, I see that in my mind's eye. And God damn, I miss cooking. I miss the line. I miss, you know, being young. I don't, you know, and the thing is that I regret everything, but man, it was a fucking I mean, it was a fucking blast. I mean, my like I told my sous chefs, one was a woman, one was a man. And with the woman, I had a very frank conversation with, and she's like, she's like, there was the time of our life for 3 years. She's like, this was the greatest thing in the world. She's like, we were, I don't want to glamorize though that it really, the industry has to change. That is not a way to live.
Yeah, there's a lot of dysfunction, and let's face it, the dysfunction is enabled. That type of behavior, like you said, as long as everybody's looking the other way, and
Right.
regardless of what the HR paperwork or the employee handbook says, there's hookup going on all over the place. I mean,
Right.
I was in the storeroom, I was in the cooler, I was, just about anywhere I could. And yeah, some of it was being young and dumb and full of cum, but the other part of it is like you said, every single time I went looking for a conquest, it was because I actually needed some type of validation because everything else was going to shit. So it's not even like I was truthful in my desire to have a relationship. It was just to make myself feel better in the moment. And any relationship based on that is going to fucking crap out. And so that's why I said, not being honest enough with some of my partners is really where I hold myself in judgment and have to say to all of them, I'm really sorry.
Right.
I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that I was that arrogant, that I didn't understand what I was doing,
Right.
that I expected things from you that I couldn't give myself. Because
Right.
if I was able to fill that fucking hole myself, then I could have saved a lot of people a lot of grief.
A lot of people, a lot of grief, and you know what? Your food would have been better.
Oh
My
yeah,
food would have been better. I think about, after when I got older, I stopped dating, or I stopped chasing the women that I work with because I was going into a corporate setting.
right.
So, like, instead of hanging out at work, I would just go out and hang, and chase any other kind of, and then I didn't work as much. And then the food suffered. And yeah, I was getting paid, but you know what? I wasn't doing the job that maybe would have gotten me that promotion. I wasn't doing the job that would have gotten me that job security, that whatever that I was looking for. Because after a while, when I left restaurants, my career kind of plateaued in terms of my upward mobility because I stopped
Pushing yourself,
what's that?
pushing yourself, stretching
Yeah, I
yourself.
stopped. Well, I pushed myself out the door to fill that hole to chase skirt where I wasn't going to lose my job.
Got it.
Where I could meet women or socialize, where I didn't have to sign a goddamn affidavit saying that, and shit, I was the departmental trainer at one of my jobs. So I taught harassment. So I knew that shit. I knew the department policy backwards and forwards. I knew the law backwards and forwards. I still do to this day. I've never done anything to warrant any investigation into my actions, but I know that instead of working, I was chasing skirt. Instead of like doing the paperwork that I should have done, I pissed it off till the next day because you know what? This was going on tonight and I wanted to, and I wanted to go out before everybody else was wasted. You talked about, and we, as chefs, we know that if our friends are meeting us at the restaurant, or if our friends that aren't in the industry are meeting us out, when we meet them out, there is a good chance that they're already somewhat intoxicated.
You bet. Yeah.
And it is never a good time for us to be the only sober person in the group. So what do? We catch up, we slam beer, we do that blind because we need to power forward. And I made mention of cocaine, and it really, for me, thank God I was smarter than that. Thank God that that never. I knew that if I ever did heroin, that would be the end of me. I knew it.
I'm only laughing in recognition because I was in the military and overseas in England, and as a cook, and I was working the breakfast line, and this one cook came in from like 3 days off or whatever, and he had this really haggard look on his face. He's like, dude, I did it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he touched the corner of his arm, you know, where he had a Band-Aid over it. And he's like, it is the best. And I'm like, you get the fuck away from me, man, because, you know, being a glutton for punishment, you know, I tasted that and nope. So I knew absolute abstinence was the only way to go.
Right. I knew that. And when I did cocaine, I knew like, it was always like, God, I want more. It's like, fuck. And it honestly was the same with Red Bull.
Yeah.
Like one Red Bull before service and I have wings. And then after a while I need 2 and then I need 3. And then, you know, chasing skirts expensive. But you know, that expense is also great meals. So I can legitimize it like that. I can legitimize it with good wine. You know, it's not like I did chef dates. I went to restaurants that I wanted to go to. You know what I mean? So I'm learning.
Right.
And I'm showing off. And look at me. I'm a chef. I get a free appetizer because this is my buddy.
Right.
Aren't I cool?
Right. Exactly. I own the joint.
Yeah, right. King of all I survey. And it was, I mean, you know, I now teach and I'm very frank and very honest with my students. I don't tell them anything unless they ask me.
Right.
I don't speak about this. I would never speak about this in my classroom. But I have had conversations with my students on our own time off campus. Frankly, because this is, you know, at the end of the day, Chef, this is a business that I still fucking love.
Yeah.
This is a business that I am working on opening up a restaurant during a pandemic. I mean, I'm an idiot. But I have this dream and I have this location and I have all this energy, chef energy, right? That I got to put somewhere. But when I tell my students, I say, listen, you know what? It may sound glorious, but it's not sustainable.
Right.
Like the very first dude that I hired is still a friend of mine. He may be watching right now. He follows me, he read my blog, he comments on my blog. He may be watching me right now. And he's like, dude, get out of my head, old man. You know, all these things that I'm thinking that we're saying that we're talking about, you know, and as much as I loved it and as glamorous as I, you know, unfortunately as you know, the camaraderie and the blood, sweat, and tears and the fun and the dance and the heat and the music and the choreography and the, you know, that non-spoken word of we got this, you know.
You are singing my song, man. Adrenaline junkie all the way.
There's no better fucking, you know, it killed me when I would work at restaurants where it would be better purpose for me to expedite in front of the line. I like to expedite while I cooked. I wanted that one other thing to keep it going. I wanted to be the dude to finish the plate, to mount the sauce, to give it that last panache instead of my saucier. Fuck, I mean, I wish it was Saturday night at 8:00 right now. And I'd be raring to fucking go.
I mean, I guess that's kind of the where I want to hang a little caveat right now, because, you know, it feels so fucking good that almost nothing else in my life felt as good. So the problem is what do you do when it's not there? Like I've gone through
when it's gone.
Yeah, I've gone through a couple.
You can't do it anymore because, dude, I'm sorry.
No. It's not even. It's not even being old. It's this idea of like there have been times when I've been between work for significant amounts of time, not very long, but you know, enough to start making me worried that maybe, you know, I didn't have any skills that were in demand anymore. But now all of a sudden everything's up to question. And I guess, you know, if I'd been eating right and sleeping right and doing meditation and getting grounded every day before I went into work, I would know that, you know, that this is what I did, but it wasn't who I was. And my coaching to people coming up in the industry for the last 10 years have been like, oh, I really love this. This is going to be my life. And I'd say, get a fucking hobby. find some other creative endeavor to pour yourself into, because there are going to be times when this might not be there for you. And, you know, the restaurant business is a harsh mistress. She will fucking take everything from you. And there's right now is a great example of, you know, men and women on lines all across the world who are doing the best they can under really, really shitty circumstances, and yet will not leave because they can't get that anywhere else.
Right.
And so that's the Chinese finger trap of this whole thing. So how do you build a life that is just as rich as anything that you're going to experience in the kitchen, so that during the ebbs and flows of everyone's careers, that everybody gets to stay emotionally balanced? Because I know for me, those times when I wasn't working were probably, you know, the riskiest for me, because of, you know, the decisions I would make, or where I go, who I'd see. And so these are the type of things that I am advocating now. And yeah, I'm old. I could still kick ass. I could still expedite 700. I don't give a fuck. Strap an apron on me, no problem. But just very recently, I've started to embrace this idea of elderhood in community, which is like, there are some up and comers right now who have some amazing ideas about the revolution that is about to occur in the industry, and this great reset, so that people like us don't ever have to suffer the type of bullshit that we did coming up. And I want to make room for that conversation. I want to spur that conversation. And yet there's a breadth of experience based upon the things that I've done and the situations I've seen that may serve someone else moving up. But the thing that I most want out of all of this is to stop fucking seeing Facebook posts about another chef who took his life, man. Because I know for a fact that there's a lot of people out there who are hurting, that they don't know what to do. They feel trapped by their jobs like you did. They feel trapped by life, and they don't think that they have any options, and they feel like nobody gives a fuck. Like, how you can't understand what I'm going through.
Right.
And I'm here to tell the people viewing that I might not have the same experience as you right now, but I certainly understand what it feels like, because I have been there in some really, really fucking dark moments. And I know that with a proper set of skills, you can work your way through that into something that's much, much better. But, you know, it's so hard, man, to fucking see that when you're in it. So fucking hard, man.
It's because, you know, I've never done anything else.
Yeah.
I've had a knife in my hand since I was 15 years old.
Yep.
And I love it. And, you know, you talked about, when you talk to young people about, I want to be a chef, and you're like, this is a great hobby. I've said that, you know, to two people that come to mind right away. One guy had a all expense paid scholarship to MIT, and he really wanted to be a cook. And I'm like, dude, go to MIT. You got a great hobby. Graduate MIT, look me up. I'll be your personal chef.
Yeah.
Not a problem. And then another guy, his father had this really successful business that his father wanted him to join, repairing boats on the Seattle Puget Sound. You got a great hobby. You can wow people in, and he was amazing talent. You can wow people at dinner parties. You can be the best at the potluck.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, as the restaurant business stands pre-COVID, it is not a business of sustainability for anything.
Yep.
And that's, you know, how do we go out of this? How do we get out of this? I want to open a restaurant, because that's how I'm getting out of it. Because what I'm doing now isn't for me, you know. And you have to feed your soul. Right. Find beautiful things in this world. I live in the most beautiful area in the world. I have the Cascades Mountains right outside my window, and I'm going to, after we talk right now, to decompress, I'm going to go walk in the hills with my dog.
Awesome.
Because you know what, you got to find beauty in other things, because it ain't, you know what, it isn't in a dirty saute pan, it isn't in a clean kitchen, it isn't in a fucking sharp French knife, it isn't in You know what? There is beauty in a dice. There is beauty in
Yeah.
a beautiful mounted sauce, in a well emulsified hollandaise. There's beauty in all of that. But you know what? That can't fucking carry me through anymore.
Right. Chef,
And yeah,
when you wrote the article, and I'm a writer as well, so I emotionally kind of connecting with, the process of writing and looking at the words. And did you have an idea of what you wanted the reader to take away from it?
not at all.
Like what
Honestly,
wisdom were you trying to portray?
I wanted to tell people what I went through. I wanted to tell people that it's okay. I wanted to tell people that, you know what, that you're not alone, because that's where I felt most of the time was,
Right.
I'm the only person in this world that feels this way.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to fucking understand, even other chefs. It's like, because
Right.
if I go to a chef friend and say this, I may get a hug or I may get a quitter and a wagging finger.
Yeah.
And you know what, when I was institutionalized for a day over that knife incident, to put on watch. And I remember I called my boss, and he just kind of laughed when I told him. He's like, why are you there? That's, life isn't that bad. And I want to scream at him, like, you're part of the reason why I'm here.
Right.
Part of the and I wanted nothing but, I had an idea of what I went through. I had an idea of, we need to change. The thing is that I see these, who goes into the restaurant business to begin with, but marginalized people in society anyways. Kids from a broken home, kids that needed to work too early, kids that, because they couldn't find, they needed a job at 16. And guess what? Only jobs that hire people at 16, restaurant jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So you get these kids that maybe their parents were alcoholics or abusive, or, they were just absentee parents, or they were, whatever. They're looking for a connection. And I find that in the industry, that, I love you despite yourself. You can hold a knife. You can make a hollandaise. You love this shit. All right, come on. You're in my gang now. You belong to me. You belong here. And for those kids that are so marginalized, that don't have anything besides, that may have nothing but besides what's in that saute pan, or, they go home, or, what, I've had kids that would work or would go to school because that was the only food that they were going to get that day. And so in the curriculum, instead of making one plate, I had them make 2 plates, because I had room in my budget, so they could take one and we could eat one together. And then they could take one home so they could eat it when they wanted to. So they had food. It gets you out of poverty, but it doesn't lift you up very far. And what I wanted out of this article is just to, to regurgitate my feelings of everything that I felt in the last 6 years, or prior to, and the recovery. And I didn't really touch much on the recovery, but it is very simple for me. It is stop and take time to notice the beauty that's around you, because it's there. And I know maybe I didn't answer your question as well as you wanted, but it's, that article, the way I feel, you're the first person that besides my therapist, that I've talked to about this. And it is not, again, not an easy thing. It was so much easier for me to put it on paper because you're a keyboard warrior.
Right.
And the social media and the internet is probably the best and the worst thing to happen to our society in terms of getting the word out there. And then the worst thing is getting the word out there, whatever that word is.
I think it's high time that we as a craft and as a fraternity stop wearing our pain like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
You know, all the things that we put up with, you know, bragging about what we had to put up with today and da 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 da. By the way, I just wanted to make mention that if anybody's watching this, and they're having negative thoughts, they're thinking about hurting themselves, or they just can't get out of the emotional hole that they feel like they're in, please take a moment and text HOME, HOME, to 741-741, and someone will call you back within 5 minutes with a list of resources so that you can get the help you need. And that's thanks to the Burnt Chef Project in the UK, who make that service available in the United States, and which you know, grabbed your story and put together a meme about it. So I mean, I was scrolling through and I saw your face on that black and white. I'm like, what? Look at that. And and I wanted to say, if I haven't said before, I'm deeply grateful that you're willing to talk about this stuff, because as you said, you know, it hasn't been easy, and yet people got to know that it's okay not to be okay, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a blog post that I wrote, and about midway down, I said that, hey chef, I need a minute. I need an hour to go to a meeting. Said no line cook ever. Like I've hired alcoholics, and in recovery, and never once did anybody say, hey, I'm feeling a little itchy. You know, can you squeeze out an hour? And I get that the mentality might have been different. And I know that there's a huge upswell with some really potent organizations that are on the rise right now that are fighting to change that. But you got to know that you need to do whatever you need to do in order to get your heart right, because what we do energetically when we put our hands over food and we manipulate that, and then someone's going to take that and put that in their fucking bodies, it's actually, you know, carrying on some of that energetic resonance. So, you know, no angry cook has ever made a great plate. Sorry.
Right.
And I've been pissed and slamming plates out of that. And I guarantee people were in that dining room going, this doesn't taste right. I mean, it doesn't taste like we had last week.
Right. Cook with love, baby. You got to cook with love.
Yeah. But if you're not coming from love, there's no way to do that.
No,
and so,
and
I'm so curious, given your experiences, and this may not necessarily be as evident now as it probably was before, but how did your experiences inform what you taught at school? I mean, I know that there's a curriculum and stuff. I mean, as far as I understand, you know, I don't think that there's a culinary school that's really talking about leadership, about ways to mitigate stress, healthy habits. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but actually, I'm great to be corrected. So please, in the comments, type the schools that are actually doing that, because that's where I want to send people.
Brightwater in Northwest Arkansas Community College. The director's name is Marshall Shafkowitz. There's a whole class on it.
I'm writing that down.
He was the guy that I talked to earlier, and he's a visionary. I mean, he's something else, and he's, if nothing else, he's a flippin' visionary. He is like, you know how Grant Achatz looks at food?
Sure.
He looks at food education like that.
Fantastic.
What can we do different? What can we do better? What do we need to do better? Not how do we do it? What do we need? You know, and, you know, of all places, Northwest Arkansas, for him to land, Brightwater is the program name. He's really amazing. But what I tell my students is, it's the greatest business in the world. I'm honest with them. I tell them about the time I ate string. I tell them about the time I ate plastic wrap. And it's not because I wanted to eat it. It's because I was told to eat it and I had to.
Right. Because you left it in a dish or something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
How did I know that?
You knew I had to eat it. Yeah. Right. You probably would have made me eat it too. Right. You know? I would have. And I would have all over again. And my students look at me as like, I wouldn't put up with that. I'm like, well, that's good. I'm glad you say that.
Right.
Because you shouldn't have to put up with that. If, you know, and I've had students that says, you know, that I'm being abused. And I would, you know, being in the position of an educator, I was also the scheduler of their internships. So if I found an internship that they weren't treated very well, I could go in there and I could make a difference. And maybe not right away, but knowing that people are being watched, that the status quo is not working anymore. I tell my students that it's, that food is the true unifier of all society. And we have the ability and the opportunity to bind society together in food and love.
Yeah.
I know that sounds grandiose, that might sound pie in the sky, but for fuck's sake, we need, as a nation, as a world, as a business, micro as a business and macro as a world, we need fucking healing. And you know what? If I'm ever in your area, I'm going to break bread with you, my friend.
Absolutely. You better, man.
Right, exactly. And that's
Yep.
the thing is that we break bread together, and we have more in common than we have different.
Yep.
And just because I'm a chef and you're a carpenter and you're a farmer and you're a doctor, we all eat and we all enjoy food and we all have struggles and we all have pain and we all have pleasure. And what can we do if we can sit over a bowl of pasta and find common ground in whatever? And I tell my students that, there is power in food and there's beauty in food, and there's beauty in the perfection of food and there's beauty in the imperfection of food. And it's our jobs as craftsmen to enjoy it, or to produce it in a proper way, in a respectful manner, and enjoy it. Not everybody is Grand Achatz.
Right.
Thank God.
Yeah, there's probably 5 or 6 spaces for that, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of thousand spaces for folks to bring people together around a table. I'll never forget, I had a general manager. I was in her office, carping and bitching and da. And she just kind of had the smirk on her face. And I said, "What?" And she's like, "Adam, don't you see the God in what you do?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You provide," like at that point, I didn't feel godly at all and was kind of shamed in the moment. But I was like, she said to me, "You provide people an opportunity who probably haven't seen each other in a very, very long time to get around a table and to be in communion with one another." And, now these days you go to the gas station, you don't see an attendant, you use a card. You go to the ATM, you don't see a person, you use a card. And, the human community is desperate for connection, and to be able to provide that venue, that choice, that opportunity is, and I know this is going to come out sounding really weird, man, but it's a sacred responsibility, man, to be able to do it in the best possible way, with the best possible energy, and make sure that when people get up, they feel like nourished in every way, shape, and form.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Make sure that they're cared for from the second they walked in the door to the second they leave. And it's not just about food. It's about the atmosphere, the feeling, the good, when you go to a sushi restaurant, it's a little, what happens when you walk in the door? They say hello.
Right.
How awesome is that? I mean, and when they don't, I'm like, why didn't they say hello? I mean,
my best friend likes to say that he doesn't cook, he creates memories.
Yeah.
And so that's a pretty bomb way to look at it. And anything larger, and a larger perspective, can assist us in getting out of our shit, if only for the moment, so that we can find some breathing space, so we can pivot emotionally. Because I've known a lot of really, really unhappy people in the hospitality industry, and I know not a single fucking one of them wanted to be unhappy. They wanted to be happy. They wanted to be happy. They didn't want, they're not in this game to feel like shit every day or to feel shit on, yet they take on everyone else's crap as their own. And, okay, so there's bad bosses, there's bad restaurants, there's bad lines, the list goes on and on and on and on. But when you can get to a space in the center of the hurricane and not be emotionally buffeted by anyone else around you, that's a sweet spot, man. That's the sweet spot.
You missed one demographic.
Lay it on me, man.
With the pandemic and the food shortages, the bad customers. If we are going to change as a business, if we are going to change as an industry, the customers have to buy into it. You know, when we set up our consulting company, you know, we did some pro bono work about, and one of the things we discovered is, you know, just like we're overworked, we're spread too thin. You know, why do we have to open on Thanksgiving? Why do we have to open on Mondays and Tuesdays? Or, you know, why do we have to be open 365 days a year? Why do we need, you know, yes, I understand that there are certain parts of society that need to be. But you know what? Thanksgiving is about the easiest meal to cook, people. Let me tell you that right now. I love cooking for the less fortunate. I love, you know, that's what I've been doing for the last few years. But I remember doing, you know, cooking for 2,000 at a hotel in Chicago and waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I've wrote about it, you know. We need to get the customers to go along with our plans.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to articulate that, but to go along with what we want to do so we can have a good life too. Because as it stands right now, the demands of the customer and the customer always being right, that is killing us, and it's been killing us for years.
I 100% agree. And I realize that as chefs, we kind of balk at this idea that we're supposed to educate the consumers. But I'm telling you, if there is any time to educate your consumer, it's right now. I was on a podcast the other day with a woman who's not in the industry, and she said, as a consumer, how can we help? And I said, okay, so here's some hard truths. You know, it's the end of cheap, abundant food. Like, we'll have plenty of food, but nobody in the United States knows what food really costs.
Right.
And when you got it, when there's only so many slices to that pie, it's going to come out of the labor side. And, you know, I went down this list of things, and ultimately it comes down to being, you know, having compassion and grace for each other, like understanding that, listen, I can only open up this part of the restaurant. I can only open up 4 days a week. And part of it is like, you never recognize like what a gift it is until later, when you actually realize like, why did we open up for 7 days?
Right.
Like, why did we open up for brunch? I mean, everybody hates fucking brunch. Like, now's the time to rethink our operations. And the more we niche down, the better it is.
The better it is for everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, the time to be all things to all people is over. I mean, that's bullshit. I mean, nobody needs another goddamn spinach dip or whatever it is. However, it could use your brilliance around a particular type of cuisine, and you can basically you can create your operation any way you want. Only lunches, breakfast and lunch only, dinner only, 4 days a week, whatever it is, because the consumers are actually out there to support you. However, again, Jensen Cummings, stewed behind Best Served podcast, says that every restaurant company, hospitality company must be a media company. And the power is in your pocket because you got your phone. You should be on your phone, making videos, posting it in the places where your customers are. It's your pipeline, and you get to own the narrative. No one else gets to own the narrative. So stop sitting around waiting for someone else to fucking fix the problem. Do a little video, go down to the market, do whatever you want. Invite your guests and your customers into what's actually happening and what's not. Don't use it as a pity party, but there's a professional way to do it. But they desperately want to know what the fuck is going on, how they can support you. And if they think that it's just business as usual because you haven't said anything.
Right. You got to let them know that fry oil is doubled in price. Yeah. You got to let them know that a box of gloves is now, disposable gloves is $1 a pair.
Right.
You know, and, you know, there's a lot of factors in that, and there's a lot of issues that swirl around that, but the customers need to come along with us. And you know what? I don't, you know what? May I be completely honest on this one? I don't have any fucking society that we can pull this off, because I read, I like I said, I'm planning in my mind to open a restaurant. So I'm all over blogs and everything.
Yep.
The pervasive attitude is, you know, I want my food and I want it now. And you know what? when you and I are the small guys and we have to compete with Darden, Darden, with Compass, with the Red Robins of this world and the Applebee's of this world, who have this corporate buying power that you and I will never have. Yeah, you know what? I had a guy come up to me. I was the last restaurant I worked, and I had single source protein, hand seasoned, 6-ounce ground beef patty, homemade bun, homemade pickle, $10. That's too much. I can go to Red Robin and get it with fries for $10. I said, you can go ahead. Go ahead and do that.
Right.
I said, knock yourself out. This is this burger. This is what this burger costs. And you know what? If you want to eat well, if you want to eat, and it's like I almost get mad because I want to say, if you want to eat crap, go ahead.
However, there are customers out there near you that want what you provide. But
yes.
if they don't know,
right.
Right.
So they don't know, they're going to think it's Red Robin. And the worst part is this guy was wearing a Philip Pasek watch, and he had a $3,000 flipping.
So what, man? Listen, once you start, the people who are loudest on social media are a very, very small segment of the population. And because they continue to be loud, because they know that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. There's so many regular people around who are just kind of waiting for some type of direction, and your media, you controlling the narrative, allows them to find you. And pretty soon you've got this space where, wow, I never knew you guys were here. Fantastic. We'll be here all the time. And they'll be so like your customers, they don't care what your hours of operation are. They'll work their lives around it.
Right.
We've got places in Asheville that are so niche that they're like, to get there, you have to fill out a quiz or a crossword, whatever the story is. But to get there is not easy. But when you get there, it's an amazing experience. And and part of getting there is part of the charm of the joint. And there's lots of little places here in Asheville that do that, and they're all doing equally well. I'm just saying that now is a great time to get out on social media, get on TikTok of all fucking places, TikTok for sure, and just talk about what you're doing, and people will find you. So,
and create desire for your product.
You're a storyteller. Tell the fucking story. We tell it with every plate that we put out.
Right.
Why not create a story? Yeah.
One of the best lessons I ever learned was from my mentor. We opened up this little bistro in the city, and every entree was to be below $13.50 and under. So I'm dating myself. Well, we had a whole grilled lobster and fries for $13.50. He bought 6 a day.
Wow.
And I'm like, Jean-Claude, I'm like, why not? I'm like, and at 5:30, we'd open at 5, at 5:30, we'd be out. I'm like, Jean-Claude, why don't we buy 12? Why don't we buy 24? He's like, because I'll sell them all. I don't need that. What I need is I need people in my door at 5:30. And once people 5 o'clock, and once people are used to eating at my place at 5 o'clock, I take the lobster off, and they're here, and they're going to get something awesome anyways.
Very smart, man. There's a lost leader only for half an hour.
Right. Create the desire and dictate. And that is dictating the narrative, and do it on social media. And the restaurateurs that aren't savvy to that eventually will be left in the dust because the generation behind me knows all about it.
I know. Chef, thanks so much for coming by.
No
when you open up your restaurant, will you come back on the show just to kind of give us an idea of what's happening?
I will. And Adam, this has been awesome. Thanks, you so much.
Hold on. I'm going to pull you from the screen, but I don't want you to go anywhere. All right. We'll close it out because I want to chat after we close. Okay. All right.
Cool.
So hold on.
I'll be right here.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. All right. So listen, Chef Life Radio. Yeah, that's us. We believe that working in a kitchen should be demanding. It shouldn't have to be demeaning. It should be hard. Doesn't have to be harsh. We believe that it's possible to have more solidarity and less suck it up sunshine, more compassion, less cutthroat island. We believe in more partnership and less put up or shut up, more family and less fuck you. Till next Friday, thanks very much. Really appreciate everybody coming by. And See you soon.